This is a Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group podcast. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It contains no wisdom, very few facts, or life-changing epiphanies, and is only the opinions, hypotheses, and guesses of the podcast host. If anything of value is learned, it is by mere chance alone. Don't blame me if you suddenly think about something or anything in a way you hadn't thought about it before. All right. Hello, Satchlings and Squatchers. Welcome to the Bigfoot Atheist Inquiry Sasquatch Random Live. I'm your host, Joe, a.k.a. Satch Squatch. You know me. And we got some people in the chat. This is my little tribute. Today we know that it is Miss Nikki Colon's anniversary with her hubby. And so I thought I would do a nice show, interview Nikki, and do a tribute to her for her anniversary. And so here we are. And she's going to be going out later on tonight and celebrating like we should when we have our love of our life and celebrating years together in which you have managed not to kill each other. And so we're going to get started with that show. We're going to say hello to Grasshopper. He was the first one in again. Hey, Graz. What's up, man? Cindy Finn, welcome. Thank you for coming. And there's my lovely wife, Molly Snyder, speaking about people who have managed to make it years without killing each other. Who else we got in here? We got, Joe Dryden. There he is. Hey, Joe. Welcome. Also, this is also being streamed on Facebook too. I went back to doing both at the same time. So, who else we got? Kevin Harder. Hello, Kevin. Welcome, sir. Welcome. Judy Wheeler. Hello, Judy. How are you? Glad to see you. Brian and Chewy go hiking. What's up, man? I hope Chewy's okay. I know he had his incident with the porcupine there. And that's bad, man. Dogs and porcupines, man. I don't know, what is it, right? It happens to them all, it seems, when they run into one. I worry about Sally like that out in the woods, but hopefully she never runs into a porcupine. Who else we got? Donald Fuller. Mr. Fuller, hello, sir. Thank you for coming. There he is. John Ayers, the salt man himself. He says, hi, everyone. Let's get salty. Well, we're not going to get too salty. And there he is, man. One of my favorite names in the whole business, Mr. Max Powers, Bigfoot Hunter. Hi, Max. How you doing? Nice to see you, man. Oh, we got Finding the Trackway. Hello, Trackway. Good to see you. Good afternoon to you. And there's the man, the legend, Jerry from the Book West crew of BC. Hi, Jerry. Welcome, man. Glad to see you. All right, guys. Well, like I said, we got my guest, and we're going to bring her right on. So, without further And there she is, Miss Nikki Colon. Hello, Nikki. You're looking as
Hello.
lovely as ever. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is an honor. I was very surprised when you texted me yesterday. You want to come on? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come on, but I can't come on till, sometime in the afternoon, early afternoon. And you're like, okay, cool. But I didn't know it was for me.
Yeah. I mean, look, you are well loved in this community. And, we've been doing a lot of stuff, and we are, of course, going to talk about Bigfoot during this show, I'm sure. But mostly this is about you because, again, going back in what I said the other day, I'm going to start doing some pretty uplifting things and fun stuff, not just, these scientific questions or, pointing out people that we don't find credible and all that stuff that's been going on. And I
Right.
thought, what's a good way to do this, man? Well, everybody loves Nikki, and it's her anniversary with her lovely husband.
Yeah.
And I thought, why not? Let's do a good show and show Nikki how much we love her and give some people that might not have a whole lot of information about you, let them get to know you a little better.
Oh my God. I think I've
So,
told
yeah.
everybody everything. I think over the last year and a half, everything's come out. It's all
Yeah.
out in the open.
Yeah. So, your anniversary, huh? Well, happy anniversary. I
Thank
did
you.
actually pour myself a twisted iced tea
I
in
got a
in
Coke
in
Zero.
tribute. So how many years is it, Nikki?
23.
Wow, that's even longer than me and Molly. Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're
23.
on 18, I think it is. Yeah, just
Mm.
past 18. This last first of this month was our 18th. That's right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's quite an
So,
accomplishment for this day and age, you know?
quite an accomplishment, man. That is
So,
quite an
yeah.
accomplishment. So you
You've got me
managed
down,
to
though.
go
You'll
through
just
all
say
these
I'm right.
years
Don't
without
argue.
killing each other. All right.
Right.
See, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Well, the thing is that I was going to. I said, sometimes you could use these little opportunities to roast the person, but I was like, Nikki, there's not a whole lot to roast Nikki about, besides the fact that I knew that Nikki was a security guard at one time in life, and I know that she can take down a full-grown man such as myself, and you don't want that little bundle of fury coming at you. And so
I
I was
was
like,
back
we
then. I
don't
was
roast
pretty
too
tough.
much.
I couldn't do what I now. I could not do what I used to do.
It gets
But of
that way,
course,
doesn't it?
yeah, that was before kids too. So
Yeah,
once I started having kids, it changed because all of a sudden I was afraid of getting hurt and leaving my kids behind. But
yeah,
before then, it was game on. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
all I didn't have a care in the world.
yeah.
So
I could just
it was,
imagine what it would be like for someone the size of me just see this little ball of fury coming at me just to take me down, put me in a neck lock or something.
Mhm.
Probably have
Yeah,
me
I got the
thanking you.
stories. I
Probably
can.
have me thanking you for doing it afterwards too. Uh, but yeah. So wow, that's an accomplishment. Well, again, just happy anniversary. I hope you guys have a wonderful
I
time
appreciate it.
tonight when you go out.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. My dress is pressed and ready, and his suit is hanging, and we're gonna go out for the evening, and it should
you'll
be
have to post some pictures and stuff. Take some pictures and
for
let us
sure. If
see
I can
how's this
get him
going on.
to, he hates
Yeah,
it. He knows I post everything, so he's
yeah,
like, Don't take my picture. I'm not gonna smile." Yeah. Yeah, he hates it. He won't. I've told him several times, come here and say hi to my friends, and
Nah,
nope, don't
not
want anything
interested.
with it. We're lucky we got a few glimpses of him at the outing with at the Mogollon Rim.
Yeah, yeah.
We're lucky we had that.
Yeah, it's going to be like, eventually it's going to be like Columbo and his wife. He always said he was married. You never got to see his wife. And it's like, Nikki's always saying she's married, but we never get to see her husband. He's,
Yeah, good to see him. Yeah, yeah, he's in the background.
yeah. So,
That's the way he wants to stay.
yeah, I I was trying to decide how to start with this whole thing, but since it's about you, I mean, let's just go from the beginning, and we'll give a little information out in case there's people that haven't heard it. Um,
Mhm.
so what um, typical question? How long has it been now that you've been doing Bigfoot stuff? How many years have you been in this?
Well, I can remember in 2008 and 2009 starting to get more interested in the subject, and um, I was new to Facebook, and it was because before then it was AOL and stuff. So um,
And before that, it was
just
CompuServe.
interested. It wasn't like a big deal or anything. I was working, and um, it, it it wasn't my life. I didn't, it wasn't my main thing.
Mhm.
But then in 2010, we got stationed in South Korea. So that's like 9 channels. Okay, 10 on a good day, a 10th would come on that were English, uh, Armed Force Network, AFN channels that would come in. And one was dedicated to news, one was dedicated to the army, one was a cartoon channel, news channel, cooking channel. It limited. Okay, let's just say it was limited.
Yeah.
And so I turned to YouTube. And we were stationed there 3 years. So over those 3 years, I watched every Bigfoot cryptid YouTube video that was out there, all of it, and started to see things coming up, and I'm like, that's not that's something else, and it just stuck with me and stuck with me. And when we came back in 2013, I started making friends with a lot of people on the East Coast and Bigfooters, and I just started, and all of a sudden, they asked me to be on Hangouts. At that time, it was Google Hangouts,
Yeah.
the plus thing. Okay, that's how we did them back then, and I was on Looking for Bigfoot, podcast hour or something, Bigfoot hour, and then we did a Finding Bigfoot after hours show, and then we did Real or Not Real was another show we did with Shane Bradbury,
Hmm.
and where he put up pictures, and we would go through them and say, well, what do you think, real or
Yeah.
not real? uh, and then I hooked up with Daniel Benoit and some of his podcasts and the ECBRO, and met more people, and that just, you just keep networking around, and that's how
Yeah.
it all started.
So you would say a good steady 13 years is how long you've been pretty much into the whole
Yeah.
Bigfoot scene and involved in it. Is there anything other than like, I mean, that time when you were spending in Korea? Um, was there any particular thing that got you interested in Bigfoot before then? I know you said that was when you really started diving into
Yeah,
YouTube and
that's
all
when I
that.
started
But was there
diving.
something before that? Were you
I was
interested in it
always
before that?
interested as a kid in the cryptid stuff, the Loch Ness monster and all of that stuff. But I was a big reader back then, and And well, I still read, but back then that, we didn't hang out in front of the TV.
Hmm.
It was, you were either outdoors or I was with a book or music.
Hmm.
One of those things, because I was a big music person too. But my mom, who was a huge mystery crime uh, buff, she would get those huge books um, from the library, and I would tag along. And the first thing I would do would load up on cryptid books, Mothman and all those things. And that's what I would do. Would be read about all that stuff and be interested. But my dad always took us camping, and I would always go on camping trips because my dad was a member of every organization there was.
Yeah.
Woodmen of the World and the Elks and uh, I could go on. There's others. I can't even remember the name of some insurance group I used to go out with, and they always had summer camps during the summer. So I was never home. I would go from equestrian camp to Woodmen of the World to Girl Scouts, all different things all summer long because I never liked to stay home.
Yeah. Those
Um,
camping trips. So when you were out camping as a little girl out there, were you ever caught, like catch yourself like looking into the woods or something, going, I wonder if there's this thing out there.
Actually, no. My dad was not that way. He believes too. I believe he believes in Bigfoot, but he always first was like, he always knew the answer. What is that? It's an elk. What is that? It's just a bird. What is that? A coyote. He knew. He always knew, and he always went for that known animal before anything else.
Yeah.
And he never made me afraid of the woods. So it was pretty natural to be there and not think anything. If anything, I knew to be afraid of big cats or bear, but we hardly ever saw bear in Arizona, ever.
Yeah.
And if you did, they were kind of really scrawny, and I never saw a healthy looking one
Yeah.
other than in the Bearzona, you know,
Yeah.
inside of a thing where they were taken care of. But yeah, no, I wasn't afraid. And matter of fact, to my detriment, that's how I walked into a skunk one time, is that there was
Whoops.
something out there and I just walked out there because nobody would walk out there. And bam, it was a skunk. And I did not get skunked, but I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. It could have been a really bad weekend for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't been like in the movie last night where he's crawling up on the badger. Here's Nikki crawling up on a skunk.
Yeah,
Eh?
I would just go check it out. Um, Not now. I don't think now I'm older. I wouldn't do that. I think a lot of my my I don't know, that thing inside me that I'm tough, it's kind of
Yeah.
worn out now. I'm
Yeah.
not so tough anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'll admit, getting older myself, I mean, a lot of the former courage that I used to have is not there anymore. I don't, because when I was a kid running around, I can remember as a child running around here in the forests in New York. I would never worry about anything, man. I would just like, I would leave my house and I would head into the woods and I would just go wherever, not even worried about if
Hmm.
I'm going to get lost or anything like that. I didn't have any way, I wasn't using compasses. I was just running around. I always made it home. But now when I'm older, I'm out there in the woods. If I'm in a new area or whatever, man, I got to have a compass. I want a map of the area. you know, it's like I need all this stuff just so I don't get lost,
Yeah.
or tend to get lost. But now I found out, and that's why I take Sally with me all the time. Sally is my little four-legged GPS unit, man.
Yeah.
Because if I get turned around in the woods, all I got to do is say, Sally, let's go home, find a car. And
Mhm.
she's off, and all I got to do is follow her, and she'll take me right back to my vehicle. So
That's nice. Yeah.
that's really good because I did that happened to me one time
Mm.
out in the area where I camp a lot, and I was just going in this one area. I'd never been through it, and we were just walking, and then I don't know what made me look up. I was, just paying attention around me and listening, and looking on the ground and seeing if I could see anything, And all of a sudden I looked around, I went, crap, not exactly sure where I'm at now.
Oh, yikes.
And I
Yikes.
did that. I was like, Sally, let's go back to the car. And she took me right back to the trail that we had been on.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I got off trail in my curiosity and wandering, but she took me right back to where we left the trail and straight back out to the car. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I did have a question. Oh, yes. So looking back on it now to those places that you were camping and knowing the things that you've known and hearing the stuff that you've heard and researched about, the possibilities of Bigfoot, etc. Looking back on it now, do you think any of those areas that you camped at, would they be a place where you think you could see a Bigfoot, or if they would be living, maybe?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
I do. Several of the places. Um, well, most of the places. I mean, I grew up in northern Arizona, and it's one of the largest pine forests you can find.
yeah,
And aside from the fact that there's also been a lot of paranormal incidents also that have happened in that area,
hmm,
and it's much of it is reservation area, but all the way from the Mogollon Rim down to the White Mountains, it's that's all prime habitat,
yeah, yeah,
and many sightings have come out of that area.
yeah,
So yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Lots of what they
I didn't
need
think
there:
about it back then
cover
when I
food
was,
and water. Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
being a kid out there, wasn't on my mind. We never talked about Bigfoot ever.
yeah,
So it wasn't in my mind. Once you get it in your mind, you're more susceptible to try to make things that aren't Bigfoot, Bigfoot.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you gotta kind of separate that, you
yeah.
know.
And that's a good lead into your show, because as we all know it, everybody loves Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks, man. And from the time you started that uh, podcast, and I started watching it, I was like, "Yep, this is one that I'm going to be able to watch, man. This is one I'm going to be able to watch without uttering the words bullshit in like every 5 minutes, right?" So yeah, I like your podcast now, and I know that you had talked to, before you decided, you were trying to decide what you were going to do, how you were going to fill a certain niche, or just even carve yourself out your own niche, which is, I think, is what you actually ended up doing. Really, is just like
I don't know of
carving out
anybody else.
your own little niche there and making it something different. I mean, yeah, there are other people out there that are keeping their eyes on the hoaxers and stuff,
Right.
but you kind of like, you know, I don't know where you get your artistic talent from. So maybe you want to describe a little bit about the process that you went through thinking about what you were going to do when you started coming up with the idea of Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks, and why.
So okay, we're all hanging out and watching all these shows, and we've all gotten to be friends, but there's constantly hoaxes and people coming out with things that we all knew were fake, but it seemed like the rest of the Bigfoot world, they just didn't know. They didn't know. So you could tell them and show them, no, that is Sean Bannon's Bigfoot. It's a student film. It's this. And you give them the information. And I was constantly doing that, sharing with them the information I had about things. And that's what kind of spurred on maybe I could do a channel that does that. Not I may debunk a little bit of stuff. More than anything, I'm relaying information that's already out there and reiterating to people that to be cautious and to look for the red flags and not to believe everything that's put out there without a little bit of thinking about it. Because we had the Phil Pollings and the um, Tony, Bigfoot Tony,
Mm-hmm.
and Steve Culls, of course,
Yep.
who are true investigators, and um, that's what they do. They are investigating hoaxes and making it real for everybody. That's not really what I do. I
Right.
take whatever a little bit more and kind of turn it and just give, look, did you forget about this? Don't forget about this. That's what I want. I don't want people to forget about all that stuff that many do. They're like, why are you giving the hoaxers a platform? I'm not giving them a platform.
Yeah.
I'm letting everybody know that they're a hoaxer, because all the new people who are constantly coming into the field don't know. They're given the wrong information.
Yeah.
So maybe I can have a channel that will just keep bringing this stuff up, and try to make it fun at the same time, and maybe a little bit of information on top of that,
Yeah.
and that's, of course, we all go to Leon to talk about, things. And we were talking, he goes, I think you should do it. You should just do it. And yeah, year and a half, and it has come a long ways from my first show to
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah.
Big differences, different techniques that I'm using now in pulling together my first half of my show and integrating segments into the second half, which I don't know. There may be there's tons of Bigfoot shows out there, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen them all. So I don't know if anybody does what I do. I haven't seen that.
Right.
Uh, which is kind of good, because you don't want to see the same thing over and over again, which is some of the stuff I have a hard time with. Is a lot of the shows interview the same person sometime in the same week. 3 or
Yeah.
4 shows are interviewing
Yeah.
the same guy doing the same thing,
Yeah.
and that's not what I wanted to do at all.
Yeah.
I if I do an interview show, it's rare and it's special because either I have a personal connection with that person, or it's because of something that happened specifically, you know, um, that involves hoaxing
Yeah. Yeah.
or some type of thing that nobody else wants to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I mean, you have broken some new ground when you started doing your podcast, and I think that's pretty neat. And the way that you've developed it along the way, from the very first time you started Hairyman, Hoaxes, and Hoodwinks, all the way up, you've got such, like I mentioned, you have such creative juices going on there that I don't know where you come up with it, but the way that you've developed the podcast, I think, is pretty unique.
mhm,
Myself, like you said, I mean, I'm not out there watching every damn thing, but I
right.
haven't seen anybody do quite what you're doing, and the way you've developed it. And I like that you started adding different segments, and that was cool. When you started
Mhm,
doing the show me what you've got, that was a little bit different
right,
thing. That was like, okay, we're not saying, show me what you got. This is
right.
we'll take a look at it,
Mhm.
and we'll say whether we see it or not.
Right. It had
That
growing
and
pains too. That segment had things that, okay, no, I can't bring people on to show me what they have, because we can be very critical.
mhm,
Okay. And hence it hurts people's feelings because everybody's got feelings.
yeah,
So better to do it anonymously. People who
yeah,
do send me stuff, I just put them up there and say I found it. I don't
mhm,
say anything, about it anymore.
right,
And it's working out a lot better. And half the time they've already posted whatever they want people to look at online, because the minute you put it in one group, it's going to show up in 5 or 6 groups within a 24-hour period. I guarantee you, whether that group is private or not, whatever you post is going to go out to the public. So beware of that, you know. And my idea isn't to bash people, but
Right.
to bring awareness that this stuff is happening, and it's not just getting brushed to the side, because there are some things that are people are getting um they are taking advantage, I
Hmm.
feel,
Yeah.
of a lot of the new people coming in.
Yeah. There are
And
some.
uh I don't think that's right. Just like, hey, you want to do your research the way you want to do it, that's fine. I don't have an issue with people wanting to research however they want to do it. If you want to research it in the lines of the paranormal because of things that have happened to you, by all means do that. But don't tell me that your way is the only way, just
Right.
like I won't tell you. Okay. If I don't believe in whatever you're seeing or doing, that's no big deal. I'm one person out of a million. You know, it doesn't matter. My opinion, if you don't appreciate it or like it, is merely that, my opinion.
Yeah.
And everybody's got one. And I've got my channel to say it. And if you don't agree with it, make your own channel. Easy as that.
Right. Right.
Make your own
Right.
channel and give your opinion.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like there's more. The they call us the critical thinkers. Okay,
Yeah.
they call us that other end, and um, so we kind of stick to our realm, and it's clicky. Bigfoot has got its own groups.
Yeah.
So you've got like Brent, who's just gone full force and is tired of it, and is letting them know, hey, this is what this is. It's hoax, and come out and just admit it, or move on and get out. Get out, because he's
Yeah.
taking it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, we had a great year. Brent and I had a great year with the show, and he said, I'm going to do stuff and I don't want you to get involved, because
Right.
he didn't want to take
Right.
me down in any way.
Which I thought was
Shape, or
decent. I understand that. He's like,
form.
look, I'm going to be doing something that's going to be real controversial, and
Mhm.
I'm going to save you from the backlash by being associated. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was professional. That was him
Mhm.
looking
I
out.
had told him
But
he didn't have to
I
leave,
don't, I don't see
but
anybody attacking you though, because for one, like you said, I mean, especially with your segment about show me what you got, and this is, I think, is important because we've talked about this in our group, and several people have said this. When it comes down to it, it's not when we talk about these things, it's not it's not an attack against the person. I mean, unless the person actually is a hoaxer. But other people that aren't hoaxing, that think they have evidence and they put it out there like it's evidence and they believe it's
yeah,
evidence, it's not an attack on that person to look at their evidence. It is a critique of the evidence itself. It's not the critique of the person. And I think the way you do it with that's the perfect way, because it really isn't a critique of the person putting out the evidence. It's just looking at the evidence and saying, yes, we agree that's evidence. No, we don't agree that's evidence. And this is why we don't agree that it's evidence. And I like the way that you do that. That's a perfect way. And I think maybe, as your channel grows and more people see it, I mean, maybe this way of thinking will actually permeate, and maybe in a way it'll be like, okay, those guys, they won't believe this, but at least we're trying to do it. They maybe show them that we're trying to do it in a fair manner, when it
right.
comes to
And
that.
I understand that. I don't want to badmouth people or anything. That's the farce thing I wanted to do with the channel.
Yeah.
But you all have to understand there are Bigfoot politics. There's huge Bigfoot politics that many people don't know about, and I didn't know about until I got started.
Hmm.
Because you start getting messages, about things, and you're like, what? You can't talk about that because they're involved with them and they support them, and it's a big mess. It really,
Yeah.
really is. But um you just go around it, and then you have to be picky. You just have to. I can't do that story because I have a small channel and they have a really huge channel, and they could drown me, before I even get started.
Yeah.
Maybe if my channel were to grow bigger, I could have more of a leg to stand on to do bigger things.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not in the place that I could do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, uh, ruffle feathers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was controversial enough to get Rick Dyer on the show.
Now that
So,
was something I was going to bring up too, because that's one of the things that your show was when I said you did groundbreaking things. I mean, that was pretty much a groundbreaking moment because that is the only show that
mhm.
I've ever seen or video, whatever you want to call it, any piece on Rick. That's the only thing I've ever seen him in where he actually admitted, "Yep, I'm a hoaxer and I
Mhm.
hoaxed it and I don't care." That was pretty groundbreaking just to get him to agree to that. I was very surprised. I was like, "Nah, he's never going to want to do that." But
Mhm.
somehow Nikki did it, and I think we all found that to be very eye opening. And
He did it himself. I just gave him the opportunity, okay?
Yeah,
Because he's a talker. And I was gonna try to keep my mouth shut and let him talk as much as he wanted to. Because that was the plan from the beginning, is
yeah,
that I just wanted him to talk,
yeah,
and let people see the way he is, and also how different he is off air. Okay,
yeah,
because he's got two different personas, and that's hard to convey, unless you've sat there and had a conversation with him for a couple of hours, which I've done several times now
yeah,
on the phone and behind the scenes. And he's a different guy. His on air persona is very strong.
yeah.
And so, but what do you do? All I can do is tell you about it. I don't have any proof of that. So, other than um, Steve Calls was with me,
Hmm.
during that one, the first um, behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And, Pat was there as well. I don't know if he remembers the night, but he was there too. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was amazing to do. And I was thinking to myself of some of these other people that everybody's like, "Yeah, you should get this guy or this person." And you mentioned earlier about you didn't want to be just an interview show. I mean, although you may do
right.
one every now and then, I was like that too with when I first started doing the podcast. I primarily had the idea starting out to interview people or basically do encounter stuff, right? People's encounters, but that wasn't working out so well because I couldn't find a lot of the people I wanted to interview. Most
Hmm.
of them were like, I'd never get an answer or they're too busy. I
Hmm.
mean, I've been trying for years, ever since I started podcasting, just to get Jeff Meldrum on my podcast. And um, no, not a chance, man. Although it's like every time I turn around, it's like he's on somebody's podcast. I'm like, dude, really? We've talked 3 times together. I had dinner with you, and you still won't come on my damn podcast. But like people like no, like I think that like Nikki Colon, man, she could be like Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I want you on my show. He'd probably do it for you. Um, and other people are like
That's
Todd
another
Standing.
thing.
Yeah, Todd Standing, and
Having
I'm like Todd won't come on my show because he can't control it. But I think Nikki Colon could actually probably talk Todd Standing into coming onto her show, even with the title.
Yeah, he probably would. but they have like their persona, they're so high. Okay, their demands are very high.
Yeah.
So him and people like Mike Patterson and I'm not going to give them control. That they
Yeah.
do not and will not have the rights to my videos. Therefore, I just won't do it. I also, when I had wasn't my idea. It was just to bring on Mike Patterson and to bring on the owner of the cottage and the son. And I had a couple of them, but then there's people backing out, and then I had Todd Prescott telling me, I don't think that's a good idea. Let me tell you why. And he convinced me not to do it. And then Todd went on to Brent and Sean, something about Sasquatch, um, and did a great show, you know. So it's so much moving parts on some of the stuff
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't know about, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
politics. There's a lot of politics.
There is a lot of politics involved, it sure is. And I try to stay out of that, just like I try to stay out of regular politics too. Like government. I don't care. And I don't. I'm to the point now, and I'm sure you are too. I mean, it's like I don't really care about the politics, so I'm going to stay away from that. And so I get you on there, but
Mhm.
that you've developed these things, and it's like I said, you just keep moving forward, and you keep coming up with new stuff that surprises me all the time. You added like Bigfoot in the news to your thing, which I love that. I was starting to do something up, except for my breaking news that I had in my other shows earlier before I did the channel relaunch. And I would every now and then do a breaking news thing,
Mhm.
but mine was a comedy thing. I made all that shit up, right, for that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, some guy in Arkansas said a Bigfoot busted in his house and ate 3 of his kids and his dog, but and then I saw you come out with the Bigfoot in the news, and I thought, Jesus Christ, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do real ones instead of just fake stories, right? But that's the thing about you. You take a deep dive into stuff, and when you're researching something for the show, man, that's what really impresses me because I'm lazy. I mean, when it comes to that, I'm lazy. And I think that's why I haven't done a lot of it because it's like, oh man, now I got to really start going through and searching in the internet. But you do a great job with that, man. You do such deep dives and you find all these interesting Bigfoot in the news things. So I love that segment. And I like,
Sometimes it's hard. It's
yeah,
hard because, well, recently we all know that CARC
hmm
came up with their Bigfoot in the news thing too. Okay.
hmm
And
yeah. What is it like?
after
Something
me,
like
by the way, after
This
me.
Week in Bigfoot or something like that.
Yeah, This Week
Yeah,
in Bigfoot. And um I have to now watch his show on Fridays to make sure that my Sunday show isn't duplicating because
right.
there's been twice now where he's brought up something that I already had in my show. And I have had to I've taken it out because
Yeah,
I don't want that,
right.
um I don't think I would ever be accused of stealing content or
Right.
what
Well,
he's
I
doing.
mean, and
But
besides that, if it's news, I mean, think about it. I mean,
it's
if it's
news.
news,
Yeah. It's
everybody that does
yeah,
news is going to come across the news, maybe, you know what I
right.
mean? So,
But
but
I don't want to be duplicate. I don't
right,
want that. I want whatever I have to be fresh. And
right.
if it is duplicate from somebody else, it's because I really didn't know. So I have changed my show last minute because of, which is great. Brandon's great, okay?
Yeah,
So I really like his show, but so that's no problem. I just, eliminate a slide or two and put something else in there.
yeah,
So um you got to watch out for that. I
yeah,
believe in that. I'm not going to take from somebody else if I absolutely not. I won't. And
yeah,
just for giving them credit. Um, But yeah, no, those the segments are fun and they break the show up, and everybody seems to like something else because I've been told, oh, that's I like that segment, or I like this one, or
Hmm.
the very beginning is my favorite because that's the bread and butter of the show is that first hour
Right.
of
Right.
whatever my topic is. And the best part for me is coming up with the titles of the show.
Yeah.
So those are coming up with the promos almost. If I got the promo down, then the rest of the show is just gonna fall into
Fall into
place.
place. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then of course you went it and you added on the be on the lookout, which I think is pretty cool, where you bring up stuff.
Hmm.
Be on the
Shout
lookout for
outs
this,
and
and yep.
stuff like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. And but I mean, and now so you spread out. I mean, you even spread out from there. I mean, because just that podcast isn't all you do. You have the podcast where you have hijinks in the morning when you do
Hmm.
Enzo. What gave you that idea?
Well, when I got the opportunity to work with JoJo um, Bones for a little bit in his morning show, and that was quickly it was changing, and Enzo and I really were like not so sure what was going to happen with it. And we were doing taping because that show actually got one of the shows got taped and put onto a streaming platform. So we were doing two shows, Tuesday, Thursday, and one of those was and that was taken to the show. So Fridays, Enzo and I said, "Well, let me put together something so we could do our own thing." And then Enzo and Jojo could be my guests. Jojo being the main thing, and so it was going to be me and Jojo, and that was fun. It was fun, but it was more structured than what Jojo had going on.
Mm-hmm.
He was really just get on there and do whatever.
Yeah.
And I can, but I don't like to do that because I like to
Right.
be a little more structured
Yeah.
and have some type of topics coming up or what we're going to talk about. So that was going to be Friday was topic that I chose of, and then we would talk about. And then Jojo was gone, and it was just natural for Enzo to jump into that position, who turns out to be a great guy, and he's funny and he's
Yeah.
so intelligent. And when you do a podcast, it's very important that you get somebody who can talk, who can fill the dead air.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're doing this, one word answers yes, nope, I don't know. That doesn't work. Somebody who can talk, to fill space. And Enzo is that person. He's a great guy, and I enjoy working with him a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you might be seeing some changes coming to my channel very soon. It's going to take me a little time on this to develop what's coming next, but I don't see changes happening till July.
Yeah.
But they're all positive, in my opinion, and but it's going to take a lot of thought and how I'm going to approach changes in my shows. Not really my shows, but changes. Changes
Yeah.
are coming, people.
Yeah.
All for the
Yeah.
good. And but I don't know if I can handle putting 16 hours into a show every day.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's
Yeah.
because this last couple weeks have definitely I put a lot into the shows. I do 30 to 40 slides for every one of my shows because I like visuals. I think
Right.
people out there like visuals. When I'm
Yep.
talking about something, I think you guys like it looking at what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes time. It takes time to
Yeah.
do every single one of those.
Yeah.
And I have the time. I just I don't know. I've got to check things out and see if it's really worth, continuing. I have a very high standard now, and I cringe when I see my first like shows.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, that was so bad.
Yeah. I'm
But
pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with the way you do stuff. And, it's like, well, to make the comment, I love I love the show in the mornings that you do with Enzo, because it's a good way that, if you really need to take a break from Bigfoot, because, you guys talk about all kinds of subjects on that show, and it's a good morning show to sit and drink coffee, and it's a fun show, and I love that one when I can make it, which here I've had a lot of time on my hands, so I've been able to join those shows, which I enjoyed thoroughly.
yeah,
Um,
it's
but
fun. That one's fun. I don't have to
yeah,
prep
yeah,
anything for that show other than a one topic. And then it's just we just talk about it. So it's not like my Sunday show at all. My Sunday
yeah,
show is the one that is takes a lot of my time. And
yeah,
now that the movie thing has taken off, which I've gotten really great feedback on, that
yeah,
they're loving it. They want me to continue it. And now that one's all set up now and ready to go, it doesn't take me any time either to do that one other than, the actual show.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's what I was gonna talk about. Is that now because you have all this, and and as I say, your creativity is phenomenal. I mean, you have your wood burning too, which everybody loves that.
mhm,
And this is how much people actually love you and what you do, Nikki, is that when you put up a video of you doing a wood burning, people will tune in for that.
mhm.
So
3
it's like,
hours one time you guys
let's
watched me do
yeah,
that.
let's see what Nikki's doing. What wood burning thing is she doing now? And but yeah, so you came up with Friday, the movie night, which oh my goodness,
That
man,
was
I was
Brent.
like,
That was all Brent. Okay, he's the one who started with that one
yeah,
Dogman show
yeah,
that kind of blew up for him. But he didn't commentate or anything on that. He just threw the movie out there.
yeah,
And I kind of had a different idea about that. Um,
yeah,
so, but I like it because then everybody's interactive and people can come on, and I'm going to open it up for people to jump on. If you want to jump on, you can. Um, it'll work out.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, Sharon even mentioned this is Nikki cooking also.
yeah, sometimes I haven't done those in a while because it's hard. The people who do cooking shows must have 2 or 3 cameras going because it's trying to it's horrible
Yeah.
trying to do a cooking
Yeah.
show sometimes.
Yeah. I
So,
it,
it's more of a pain sometimes.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
that one.
I, I love the fact, but the yeah, and the movie night thing was great. So yeah, you had mentioned that you really got the idea from Brent about it and wanted to do put a little bit of twist on it, and and when you started that, I mean, yeah, I mean, wow, I mean, even chat, I'm sure they agree. I mean, it's pretty popular, right? Movie night.
Yeah,
And you've been
it's
coming
so
up
much.
with some gems, man. And I loved them. And last night, although I had to miss the live, but um, I watched it today, and
Mm.
but yeah, that movie there last that you showed last night, that's it's a cheesy little movie, but it's one of my favorite Bigfoot movies. When it comes to movies that are supposed to be a documentary style about Bigfoot, not just like, it's not supposed to be a Bigfoot horror movie like Exists or Primal Rage or anything like that. It's supposed to be a documentary about going to look for Bigfoot, and that
Right.
one I love. And of course, you guys had a good little interesting conversation about the movie afterwards and mentioned some
Mhm.
things like which I had to laugh at because I'm like, yeah, that's it exactly. You mentioned that in that movie, that is the movie that has the noise, and you mentioned that it was actually a recording that Roger Patterson made in a bell tower. Because he was trying to approximate a sound that he had heard one time, he said, that sounded like Bigfoot.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that is in that movie. And of course, that's the one that a certain somebody in the community had tried to claim that he recorded out in the woods during a Thanksgiving or something. And I was like, yeah, I had to laugh at that one. So I'm like, yeah, that's it, baby. Um, and then I saw one time, and there's the Bat Mom. Because as I say, Bat Mom, at one point in the chat, I noticed she was like,
Oh.
Nikki's talking like Joe now. Nikki's being Joe because you said something about, how was it? How did you put it? And you
I
did
don't
put it in
know.
the, oh, you
I
said,
drank a whole bottle of wine that night.
yeah.
No idea.
You had said something about the evidence, and you were like, I forgot it, but it did. It sounded exactly what I would say.
Probably
It's
because I heard it from you.
yeah, maybe, but I found that interesting, and I like the way I mean, that's the thing is that we are that small, what I call the 1%, which I got that nickname from somebody else that had mentioned it, because we're small right now. But I think we'll grow. There'll be more and more people that want to do this, like scientifically speaking. Um, and yeah, it does come down to either you can show the evidence for it or you can't, and that's where a lot of us are having a problem with anybody that's ever had an encounter pretty much can't prove that they had that encounter. I haven't seen one that can prove it with evidence that they had the
Mhm.
encounter, right? um, so but out of all of that, out of all the encounters, and I will say that encounters are, you can believe some people in encounters. There's plenty of encounters that I've heard. I actually believe, the person that's talking about it. And the one thing you did say that I do agree with you, and you kind of said it, is that yeah, encounters are an evidence, but they're not the best kind of evidence, right?
Mhm.
Um, so, but out of the encounters, have you what are how was I gonna ask this question? I forgot now. I had this question all prepared. Um, they're not enough to make you. I know you give Bigfoot at least a possibility, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Oh,
you say you
absolutely.
believe that it exists out there.
Mhm.
Um, have there been any particular encounters that you have heard and you said, "Wow, that's really convincing."
Um,
You don't have to name
I,
names or anything
I
like that.
know. I'm really. I
Or
don't.
better way to ask the question: are there some that you've heard that are more credible to you than others?
They're all just okay. If you want to separate it video wise, I tend to put like percentages of believability onto them, and I have to say I was about 80% that PG film was Patty's real, because I always had a hard time with certain things
Mhm.
about her, okay, including the face, the butt, and the feet. I had a hard time with those things, but it was still something to grab onto, and okay, it's uh, probably real. I don't know. And um, yeah, I'm hungry.
Oh,
Um,
sorry, that was Molly. Yeah.
I'm saving myself for the dinner tonight. So, and then I would hang on to something that I thought was real, and I'd find out it was fake and hoax, and it destroys you every time that happens. And that kept happening. Look at the Freeman footage. I loved the Freeman footage.
So did I. Yeah.
God, I almost placed that higher than the PG film for a
Mhm.
long time, a very long time. And then I met somebody who really changed my mind on that, and that's Thomas Steenberg, of course. And now I'm back to 50-50, and it's just, I don't know. I think there are a lot of people with very credible stories, encounters. Let's just call them their encounter experiences, like you and Jay and Jeff, and you know, and others, not just in our little group, but there are a
Yeah.
lot of people with those,
Yeah.
and many people don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
there's credible stories out there. I can't tell you they all sound the same to me though. you know, Going down a thing, and you run into a Bigfoot, and you stare yourselves down, and you go off in different directions, and that's the whole story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much can you weigh on that other than the sum of the whole, right? A little bit of
Right.
this, a little bit of that, and it makes it come together as something possibly more credible, something real, something that makes me continue to want to look at this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on that. I mean, when it comes down to it, an encounter story really, again, I say this, I've said it before, unless you have further evidence or data or something to back that encounter story up, it's really just a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves it up to, the credibility of the person telling the story, right?
Right.
And I've heard plenty of stories in 59 years, man, that I place a lot of credibility on, and I've heard a lot of them that I just think in my head, this is complete BS. You know, in fact, I've had it several times. Somebody's questioned me. He said, "Well, you've seen one, so how come you don't? How come you don't think other people? Or how can you doubt other people's encounters? If you've had one." Well, for me, the reason that I can go in and listen to somebody's encounter and believe it happened as long as they're credible is because I had one, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
just because I've had an encounter, or anybody, just because anybody else has had an encounter, that it's really doesn't mean that they have to believe every other thing that they hear, right? Because when it comes right down to it, again, it's just a story if you don't have something to back it up. And you can't expect people to just believe in Bigfoot because you say it's real, right? You have to go about it as I'm say. We try to go about it objectively, and scientifically, to find out all these answers, right? And I think your show is, it lends into all of that,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to the credibility part. I mean, there's been plenty of times that, as you were saying earlier, something will pop up online and it'll be something that was debunked long ago, but
Right.
there's people that are newer to the thing. They don't know, they've seen, and then it's like, then you got to jump in and be like, no, this is going around again. This is what this is, folks, so um, I mean, you've had to mention several times on your shows because every now and then our favorite guy in the whole wide world, Mark Anders, a lot of his stuff pops up online over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. And so, how do you feel about that? I mean, are you going to? I mean, do you think it's worth it? I do. I personally will say I think it's worth it for you too. But I mean,
Oh
when this
yeah,
stuff
I do.
pops up, I mean, are you still ready
I,
and raring to go? No, guys, I've already told you this, but maybe for some new people, this is Mark Anders' work, et cetera, that
mhm.
kind of thing.
uh, I'm starting to get a little desensitized to a lot of it now, where I've got links ready to go, so I can just shoot if I'm here on my computer, it's easy for me to just shoot, here's the information, just to people, and to, especially in Facebook groups, um, and show them what it is. But that's not all. Sometimes I'm just on my phone and I don't have those files or links and stuff on my phone. I have to be here where I'm sitting right now so that I can have all that information. So it
Yeah.
gets frustrating. It does, but I don't think it's really discourages me to, keep on doing what I'm doing. And I'll keep repeating the same things over again. And I've done that a couple of times. This has come up again this week.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
you are again.
Yeah.
Everybody's loving it. And that's what my channel is about, though, is
Yeah.
about
I,
I'm going to repeat things until it gets to everybody's head. you know,
right.
this is
Right.
what it is. And
Yeah.
spread the
That's
word.
that's good to know because I think that's important. I think that's
Mhm.
important. Because if they're going to keep popping it up, you got to keep pushing back against it, right?
Right.
Um, Especially when you know it's been something that's been debunked over and over and over again, but people keep trying to want to recirculate it, and you're like, come on, man, you got to
Hmm.
keep pushing back against that. And I think your show, your podcast, is a good vehicle to do that. Um, and I think a lot of other people think it too because they do love your show, man. It's
My
it's it's really fun.
I do have some very loyal followers. That's for sure. My numbers prove that. I may not have a whole lot of subs, but the ones I do watch my show. So,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
comparison, if you go to the analytics stuff, which I'm just now starting to pay attention to, and it's like, oh my God, what do I got to do something about this if I want to take this further? And even though it's not about the money for me, it is about getting more subs and getting the word out for me.
yeah, yeah.
Because I put in a lot of work and I want more people to see it.
Well,
So,
I think your shows, I think your channel's going to keep growing. I think you just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it took me. It sucks because now I'm back down to like 86
yeah,
subscribers, and I was like 580 something
yeah,
before I crashed my own damn channel. And it
yeah.
takes a while. It took me a while to build up to that 500 mark
Mhm.
and pass it.
That's the hardest part right
Um,
there is from
yeah,
the 300s to right
but
now seems
yeah,
to be really hard
yeah.
until you can
Yeah.
reach a
But
threshold.
I think the way you're going though, man, now that you have reached that threshold, I think, you just keep doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
Keep all of your artistic artistic juices flowing and keep developing your channel the way you have been. I think it's gonna grow, Nikki. It's gonna grow. You're gonna attract more and more people. And I think that's a good thing. That'll be a good thing because
Yeah.
you know, that'll be mean more and more people, especially like we keep repeating the people that are just coming into this. I think if your podcast is one of the first ones they see, that would be good because they can start
Right.
getting the correct information instead of the wrong information from the
Right.
get go. And so, I like the way you do those things. You do
Thank
them
you.
very very well, and along the way, my production values are just like my production is like very rudimentary on this podcast, and your production has gotten better and better and better as you've gone along. There, like your intros are beautiful, and
Changing.
the way,
Yeah,
yeah, the
everything's
way they
kind of changing.
produce, the way you produce them, and how you put them together, and even your outros and stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
your production is like getting right up there, man. I mean, it's beautiful. It's very professional looking. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Whereas,
Well, if you noticed, I've now officially made each of my shows have a different intro and a different outro for each one of them.
yeah,
And before I was kind of sharing one and it didn't make sense and uh, got kind of confusing. And with that, also, I'm also branding StreamYard, making each its own brand. You know what I'm talking about because up at the top there's this button where you can put
yeah,
certain things in
yeah,
certain different areas, and I was just using one, and it's full. right?
Yeah,
So my movie one has one, and my regular Hairyman show and hijinks share one, but I'm going to be separating hijinks as well now, so
hmm,
that each one is independent from each other, and which is also going to lead to other things in the future. So
yeah,
it's a means to change things up in the future here. So
yeah. Boy, I mean, if we lived closer, I'd be like, dude, I'm gonna hire Nikki as my producer, man, because you know, here I am, I'm working with Movie Editor Pro and that kind of thing. It's like, but
yeah,
yeah, so I do. I love the visuals. The visuals is very important, and you're right about that. And the more visual that you have, the more people enjoy it.
mhm,
It's so the production of the various shows is really cool, Nikki. You've really started to develop that, and
thanks.
I like that. You know a lot more about computers and using them and how to do stuff
I do
than I
now.
than I ever will. I think
I
so.
definitely have learned. I mean, yesterday I was blaming Enzo for the not hearing him, and it wasn't even him, it was me. And once I realized that, I could fix it, but it was so funny. He goes, "It wasn't me, it was you." And I go, "I know, I'm sorry."
Yeah, I was laughing when I saw that first part. I
You're
was
only
like,
as good
oh
as your
no,
tech. So when your
was
tech goes out, your everything gets foobar.
yeah. Yeah, and it always seems to happen, right? You think you got everything set, and then
Uh-uh.
you start the show, and it's like something's wrong, and you're like, what the? Hang on, just a second. Let me figure out what's wrong.
Give me a moment.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
that's
hear
funny.
Enzo.
That's funny.
Somehow my mic got disconnected from my voice meter, and it showed it was on, but it was not.
Yeah. Damn,
So,
Donald. Donald Fuller said, "I just subbed, Joe." Damn, it took you this
what?
long.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Donald. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. I really do.
Well, you got to watch it because YouTube keeps taking people out and putting them back.
Yeah, I noticed that too because I've gotten unsubbed from shows that I would watch and I'd be like, wait a minute, I was subbed to this. How did I get
Mhm.
unsubbed? And then I have to
Right.
resubscribe again. It's like I don't know how that happens, but there is. But
And I don't get notifications
yeah,
for a
sometimes
lot of
that's
people.
yeah that or what'll happen with me is I notice a lot of times I'll hit notify, right? I'll hit the
Mhm.
thing and then it'll be like 5-10 minutes after the show starts. Then I'll see the little thing and it'll be like, click on it. It's like, oh, show such and such. I'm like, dude, show's been going on for 10-15 minutes. And now you just notify me?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Bat
Um,
Mom. I like that comment. I
yeah,
hate
that's true. Yeah.
when people
Nikki
are
is
bad
also
shit
respectful,
crazy.
even if you're batshit crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all have a different style. I'm a little, I try to be like nice to people, even if I think they're batshit crazy. But there are some people where it's just like the bullshit is so thick. You're like, you just can't hold it in anymore, right? It's like, come
And
on, this is just. But luckily, we're gonna make a difference, and we're gonna get people to scientifically start thinking about this. Even if you're not a scientist, you don't really have to be a scientist to
mm,
really kind of understand. If you just read a book or read something, just look up and read how to be scientifically thinking, how to use the scientific method.
scientifical. I'm gonna be scientifical today.
Yeah, scientifical. I am
Yeah.
going to be scientifical.
Um,
Um,
but I'm not any better than anybody else. Anybody can do this, really. And
well,
everybody's
I
got
don't know
their
about that.
opinion.
Not the way you do it, though.
Well, I'm talking about trying to treat people a certain way.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
but I have my biases. I have my favorites, and that's okay. Everybody should have their own favorites.
Sure.
Don't ever get stuck in liking or following somebody who you don't believe in.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, move on. If you don't like somebody's opinion about stuff, move on. Move
Right.
on. There's 1,000 more out there that I haven't even seen.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
day there's new groups and new podcasts and new things coming out. And you can find other, people who think the way you think, if that's what you
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to bring notice to those who are trying to fool us.
Take advantage of people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
And I think that's the other thing that people need to understand. I think everybody in chat does understand it. But people outside of who usually come to watch us, I think they need to understand that this isn't about, making people feel bad, in general. It's about, letting you know what's real, what's honest, and what's not, and, I think just being human and having a sense of humanity, I don't want people, especially since this is such a beloved subject for myself, I don't want people out there that are interested in this just like I am to be taken advantage of
Mm-hmm.
by people who are just trying to use it as a means to further themselves. They don't care about the investigation. They don't care about the truth of it. They just want to try to take advantage of people for their own benefit, and that's what I like to push back against, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like what Brent does. And I know he probably takes a lot of flack for it, but you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Brent doesn't call somebody out, man, if it's not deserved. I can see that already. So Brent's
Yeah,
not going to do that.
he'll have the background. He's not going to
Yeah,
say something unless he has the information at hand.
yep,
Uh,
yeah. And Steve
if he
doesn't. I
doesn't,
mean,
he'll
the
tell
same
you.
way. If Steve's calling something out, man, you can guarantee he's got the receipts.
Right.
He's not going to just falsely accuse somebody of something or whatever.
For real.
But yeah, your shows are awesome, Nikki, and I like it. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see how it develops. I love movie night, and I love the fact that you spun last night and you got Chud for the next one.
Oh, don't
Uh,
remind me. I don't want to see that
yeah,
one.
the
I
old
haven't seen. Ugh.
the old
Uh,
cannibalistic human underground dwellers, man. Oh
I
yeah, I
just
saw
think
that
they're
movie
gonna get
such a
hit.
long time ago.
They're gonna take that one down because of the gore. I just
Well,
know it.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a movie like from the '70s. I think it is. So it
I
might be. It
haven't.
was a long
Yeah,
time. I watched it a long time
it was
ago.
a long
But
time ago. Cannibalistic. What?
human underground dwellers.
Human underground dwellers.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah,
I don't know why I put that in there. I should have not put Chud in
yeah.
there.
Well,
Uh,
that was like a precursor to. There was another one that came out. I don't remember the name of it now. Maybe it was called Beneath or something like that, where these people ended up going into a cave and they found all these weirdly mutated humans that lived underground that were cannibals and stuff. Yeah,
oh my god.
that's always fun. Um,
Grasshopper. It's too late. I already spun it. We're gonna have
yeah,
to.
he says erase Chud. No, the one that has me concerned that's on that wheel, although
Cut. So I
um,
can take it off now.
no, I don't want you to take it off because
Oh.
it's actually it's a classic, man, and that's the Night of the Living Dead.
Oh.
And I've mentioned that one's going to be a tough one for me because when I was a kid, that was the one movie that scared the living bejesus out of me, man. And it goes down in history as being one of the scariest ones I've ever seen. Most horror movies now, they don't really scare me, right? They're cool, they can have a little shock value, but
Uh,
actually being scared, I know it's just a movie. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But Night of the Living Dead, man, it was just the way that was filmed beautifully by George Romero, man. Just the suspensefulness of
yeah.
it, black and white, and yeah, it was. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to that one next
Serpent and the
Friday. Yeah,
Rainbow, Uncle Bones.
yeah.
Serpent. Let me
So,
write
oh,
it down.
Serpent and the Rainbow. Yeah, that's about the voodoo stuff. Yeah, yeah,
I'll see if I can
yeah.
find it. And I already forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know what I was gonna say. Um,
This finding the trackway says we need a movie like Joe and Jay's Sasquatulent Adventure. Sasquatulent, Sasquatulent Adventure. Yeah, see two old dudes stumbling around out there in the woods, running away from Bigfoot. But yeah, I don't think you should run away from Bigfoot myself.
hmm.
I think you should
I
just
really
take
want to
it.
see Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That old one is good.
The original or the one
Yeah,
with Donald, because I think the one with Donald
the one with
Sullivan is a remake.
no, the Donald Sutherland, the original, the black and white one, the
Okay,
black and
that's the
white ones
original. Yeah, yeah. Because the one with Donald Sutherland is a remake of the original.
of
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That was a weird kind of movie. Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
that one
Hey,
scared me. And you know what
Jeff's
else
in
scared
here.
me? Oh,
What?
nice. Was the babysitter, the one where they're on the phone and they say he's in the
Yeah,
house, he's in the
he's in the
I
house.
was a
Yeah,
babysitter during that when that got released,
really.
and that scared the crap out of me. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was the one. That girl was that woman that was in it. That was a babysitter. I'm trying to remember what else she played on. I think she was in Taxi as Laka's wife. I think that's the same actress. I think.
Um,
Um, but yeah, so
what's the name of it? I don't even know what the name of it. Is it The Babysitter?
I I think that's what it's called. I think that's what it's called. New York
Yeah,
Joe and the Temple of Squatch. It's because of the
1995, right?
yeah, sounds about right.
Um,
Although maybe it was the 80s that I'm
she
thinking of.
was no way. Alicia Silverstone? That's not her.
No, no, that wasn't the one that I'm thinking of. But I am. It's the one you're talking about. Yeah, she's on the phone, and they're like, "He's in the house."
Yeah, that one. That one scared me. I don't know
Yeah.
which one it was. Somebody will know.
So I have another question for you, and then we're gonna see. We're gonna open it up here for a little bit here to the chat asking you questions. But so Nikki, out of all this stuff, and I don't know if I've ever really heard the answer to this. Maybe you given it before, and I've forgotten. But so, do you ever want to have an encounter with one of these things?
Yeah, I
You
think I
do?
do,
Yeah.
but not like up close and personal. Just kind of like off in the distance,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've been having dreams about this whole Mount St. Helens trip I'm coming on,
Really?
and I don't want to scare myself before I even get over there. So, um, just anything, and it doesn't have to be a full-on sighting. I do want a sighting, but I want to hear what people are hearing and calling.
Yeah. Me
Oh,
too.
that's a wood knock, or that's a Bigfoot howl, or what everybody's calling them these things, and I want to hear from in my own ears, real time, what people are hearing, because I've
Yeah.
not heard anything that doesn't sound like an elk bugle or a coyote, you
Hmm.
know, doing their thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I haven't been out in the woods a lot in the
Yeah.
last 20 years. I haven't. I go once or twice a year and that's it.
Yeah.
Because of my family and I have to be here and
Right.
those things. I don't have
Yeah.
the leisure of just picking up and going every weekend
Right.
because I don't live anywhere near the woods now.
Yeah.
I am 3 hours away from the nearest forest
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of going back on the movie there that you showed last night that with that bell tower recording that
Mhm.
it all of a sudden occurred to me. I'm like, you know what? I think Roger was trying to make the kind of noise that everybody else is like calling the Ohio howl. Very reminiscent of that, because the Ohio
Yeah.
howl was that
Yeah.
kind of, and so that's very reminiscent of that. Now, I thought, I thought that I heard something similar to that one time, and that was when I was still living in Virginia, camping in George Washington National Forest. Um, and I thought it was I was like, holy crap, what is that? Now, since then, though, I have thought about it a lot, and I don't think it
Exactly.
was actually an animal that was making that noise.
Mhm.
I actually think it was a fire alarm.
Oh,
And what
from a
makes me
distance?
think, well, what makes me think that is because there was one time when my wife and I were camping in that area, and there was a fire in the mountains there. And they came to us and said, "Yeah, we're thinking it's coming over the ridge, so you guys are going to have to move because And we did move, but that got me to thinking. That wasn't the time I heard the noise, but that got me to thinking. I wonder if the time that I did hear that kind of thing
Oh,
was the alarm going off saying there was a part of the forest that was on fire somewhere there. So,
yeah.
yeah. But I'm like you, I've never heard any of these other noises that people are saying, like especially like the samurai chat. I've never heard that.
Mhm.
Um, I've never really heard any whoops, um, other than what I thought were probably loons, because there is in the area, well, at least in the area where I have where I had the encounter with Rasta, there is a pond there, a fairly large pond, and I know that you know there's been loons there. So I always chalked it up to being loons if I ever heard one of those whoops, because this sounds very to me it sounds very very similar, very very similar. So, but other than that, I haven't heard any of these other things.
Yeah.
Things that sound like wood knocks, sure. um, I think a lot of us that have spent a lot of times in the woods, you hear it all the time. Branches crack, trees fall. This is what nature does sometimes. Sometimes it can be an animal doing it, but um, you know, so I've had heard that stuff. I have heard, like I mentioned on the show with Steve the last earlier this week. I've heard that same thing that I've heard other people repeat over and over again. It sounds like a Louisville slugger hitting a tree. Like somebody's using a baseball bat. I've heard that. I don't know what it is, but I've heard it. But other than that, yeah, I don't hear all these other noises that an owl is an owl to me.
Mhm.
But there's so many people out there who's like, oh, it's a Bigfoot. That's a Bigfoot. He's mimicking an owl.
That's 100% I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
100% I
I mean,
don't.
I wouldn't put it out of the possibility if they're really, really, really intelligent as we think they are. Um, that it could be possible that they could imitate other noises of animals because we can do it. So it might be a possibility, but there's no evidence,
Yeah, the
no solid
possibility.
evidence that they do it.
The
So
way they're coming forward with it is saying that just some rando thing that's a Bigfoot, doing that.
yeah, I
I don't know.
mean,
I just don't think you can say that unless you're seeing it do it. So,
right. I'm with you on that one. I agree. Because when I hear barred owls out there now, it's like it's a barred owl.
mhm,
It's a barred owl. We've got all kinds of species of owls here in this state, and I probably haven't heard every single one of them, but
right.
I do quite often hear screech owls, and I hear the barred owls a lot. And then, but ever since that first time when I first heard it and thought I was listening to a Sasquatch, I thought and it was during the daytime, and it was just a couple of owls, and I didn't realize it at first until I talked to an owl expert, and he heard it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a barred owl. It's a juvenile, actually, and there's another owl mixed in there." And I went, "Oh shit! Okay. All right. So now I know what that sounds like, and so every time I hear it now, it's like, all right, yeah, it's just an owl, just an owl. So, so anyway, chat. Do you have any questions? This is the time to ask Nikki questions. If anybody has questions for Nikki about anything, so you guys put them in caps if you can, please, so I'll see them. But since she's there, she is.
I'm
So
here. I'm
yeah,
here.
we'll watch the chat. Anybody's got some questions for Nikki, um, put them up there, and that'll be cool. Otherwise, I'll be while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna take a look and see what you guys have been chatting about. That mom says, my dad didn't believe in Bigfoot, but my mom would listen to everything about. My dad had heard the Ohio howl, and he was. Oh, oh my God, that's what I heard in Yosemite back in the 70s. Well, there you go. So dad might have heard something back in the 70s. Yeah, I hear you, Graz. He's like, my family thinks I'm nuts about Bigfoot and laugh at me. Yeah, unfortunately, you'll have that. But I'm used to it, you know. It's like when I say, people ask me, have you ever seen one? And, I'm like, I'm almost to the point where I'm going to go, would you believe me if I said yes? I mean, um, now, Donald seems to have something. He says, there's something to the whoops. My second interaction had one elongated whoop and two short whoops from three different directions, and they were ground level and no pond in the vicinity. Yeah, I mean, if there's no water, loons are always going to be around water. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that one. And I'm not saying that any of these whoops that people are recording where there can't be Bigfoot. Maybe they are. I don't know. Um, so
Grasshopper. 42, man. 42. The meaning of life.
oh, what's the meaning of life? Yeah, 42. Yeah,
42.
yeah, 42. I don't know what that means, but 42. Um,
If you don't know, then you have to look it up. I'm going to tell you.
yeah, right.
Just type in meaning of life 42 and it'll come up. I promise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he agrees. He says you're correct. It is. Um, so yeah, Yosemite. That's an interesting place they're talking about there. I've never been, but I'd love to. Oh, Grasshopper says you have to watch the movie. Yeah, I mean that's why I get the reference because I know I have not seen the whole movie. No, I have not. But that's what I get the reference because that was what it was in the movie. Yeah, the answer to life, 42. Okay, all right, 42.
The weirdest ass
Judy
movie.
Wheeler. She says, I've been documenting an area with photos taken daily since I captured something. Well, that's interesting. So, um, oh, wow. That went down kind of quick. So, where are you guys going out to dinner tonight, Nikki?
Oh, we're invited to a quinceañera.
A
That
what?
is a quinceañera.
Okay, I
It
don't know
is
what that is.
when a family puts on a birthday party for their 15-year-old daughter. It's like a coming out party.
Oh, okay.
Um, and it's quince, which is 15 in Spanish.
Okay.
Quinceañera party. It's a
Okay.
15-year-old party. And it's a very elaborate and formal um, dresses and suits only, if not tux, and it's in a huge venue with food and bands, and I mean it's quite elaborate, like what we would do for a wedding, but
Mm-hmm.
it's for the girl's birthday. So we're
All right.
going to that tonight. It's from like 6 to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Know how to party there.
Yeah, it's a big party here.
Be
So
some
we
good party.
we were like, when we got the invitation, which is so cute. Oh shoot, I moved it over there. It's in the shape of a butterfly, and we looked at the date. He was like, "Oh, that's our anniversary," and I go, "Yeah, it is." I go, "Well, let's pretend the party's for us, and we'll go." He goes, "Okay." So we're gonna go and do that.
That mom said, "Is it like a Sweet 16, but for
Yeah,
Mexicans?" Yeah,
it's like a Sweet 16 on steroids. Um,
yeah.
Much more elaborate than any Sweet 16 I've ever seen in America.
Kind of
But
like what the bar mitzvah is to a Jewish boy.
yeah,
That kind of
it's a
thing.
big
Yeah,
party. Yeah, yeah.
it's a coming of age type thing or something. Yeah,
The girls wear elaborate, like Cinderella style
really,
dresses.
really.
Yeah, and there's
Um,
a whole court, proceeding with a bunch of her peoples.
can't wait to see the pictures. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. What's this done, Donald? Says Joe, you must have a vast knowledge of Jellystone Park.
He says your hat looks like
I
it's
know because of my
yeah.
hat. No, I don't. But you know what freaked me out? There actually is a Jellystone Park. There really is one. It's in Virginia. It's called Jellystone Park. Yeah. I've never seen Yogi there, or any picnic baskets. So
Picnic. Hey, boo-boo.
yeah. So, but that is one thing about that. I mean, culturally, not getting
Mhm.
away from too much of the topic there, but culturally, man. I mean, it's like the Spanish speaking people know how to party, man. I'll tell you what, you throw a
Yeah,
big
they
party.
do.
Yeah,
It's
that's
funny
awesome.
because when some neighbors moved in catty corner to us, they were super loud, big time music going and partying. And the next day when I was walking my dog, I went by the house and it's a sheriff's officer's house. He had his cruiser in the front, and I'm like, well, that's good. If the police officer in the neighborhood is
Right,
doing a party that big, we can put our music on.
right. You're like,
No,
well, no problem there.
yeah.
That is awesome. Um, Donald says I'm ignoring his comments. No, I'm not. What are you talking about? Ignoring your comments?
What?
I'm not ignoring your comments.
We just talked about his comment.
Yeah, Jellystone, Jellystone.
Yep.
That's funny. I actually I would like to go back to that place one day, Jellystone Park in Virginia. And yes, it's actually called Jellystone because of Yogi Bear and all that stuff.
Nice.
Oh, but all right, come on, guys. Questions, answers. I don't have any answers.
They know everything about me. And I don't need.
Oh, well, apparently Donald says they're all. Oops, wrong one. Donald says they're all over. It's a campground. I did not realize that. I didn't know they were all over. I don't remember one here. But
Jellystone campgrounds.
yeah,
That's
maybe.
kind of cool.
Yeah,
But these kids these days don't watch Yogi Bear anymore. I don't think they show that anymore, do they?
Yogi Bear. I don't know. You might be able to find it somewhere on a Cartoon Network. Maybe I don't know. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I don't watch a lot of TV. Usually, about as much TV as I watch is when I go to bed. I'll pop the TV on and pick some movie to fall asleep to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Batmom said Donald is the new Raptor.
Nobody could ever be Raptor.
Nope.
One of a kind.
Raptor is one of a kind.
Yeah.
He's
You have
he's
so
even
much patience with him, Joe.
well, He's even more hardcore than I am about stuff, but that's
No,
okay.
Batman. Well, he's indifferent. Let me put it that way.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
indifferent. He doesn't care one way or the other, and he doesn't like to camp. He hates to camp, as a matter of fact.
Really?
He says for 26 years the military made him camp out and he'll never do it again. So that trip to Mogollon Rim that he took me was because he had to, because I was so disappointed that I had messed up my knee and I couldn't do that myself alone, that he took me. Okay. But he he was originally not supposed to go because he hates camping. He hates it. There's
Yeah.
not one little inch he likes about it. So he's indifferent. He heard some stories around that campfire that night, and he's like, I don't know. I think he thinks we're crazy, but
Yeah.
he's still supportive of me, and if I whatever I need, he supports me on that. So
Well, yeah, that's the good thing. That's a good thing. Have support in your Bigfoot stuff. Is Molly still on? Hear that, Molly? It's good to have support your spouse that's into Bigfoot. Um, oh, Batmom, I don't think she heard your answer about that one. So, what about your dad?
my dad is this kind of the same way. He's a believer of what he sees. So he would have to see it, but he's very open minded, and he gives me the side eye, like, what? and so,
Judy has a question. She said, Nikki, that place we stopped at on the rim, you said, oh no, of all places. What did you mean by that? Just wondering.
they're at No Lake. Well, just because of the many sightings and stories that come out of that area, it's a very not even so much Bigfoot, but paranormal area. It's very, how do they say, vortex driven, you know? So the all kinds of uh stuff like that in
Weird
that.
goings on, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a scary forest up on the rim. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
very dark.
That made me want to check it out even more. Until I got into it, because I was hiking. I was hiking one time on the Finger Lakes, a portion of the Finger Lakes Trail, in this, because it goes through several of the different state forests that we have here, and um, I was just on a day trip one time, going out to this one state forest, and part of the Finger Lakes Trail ran through it, and I started following the trail, and I got into this one area that it's like, how the forest changes every now and then, right? It's like,
Mhm,
different scenery. But I got into this one area that all of a sudden, I don't know how to even describe it. It was kind of like that spooky, kind of fairy tale ish kind of looking forest, like where, if a freaking, goblin popped out in front of you, you wouldn't be surprised, right? That
mhm.
kind of thing. It looked like that kind of creepiness, right? And when I was first walking up on it, I was like, ooh, looks like this is a new area that I'm entering in the trail. And once I got in, I was like, yeah, that's kind of spooky in here. And I
Yeah,
kind of picked up my pace a little bit. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is spooky. This
yeah,
is
there's
spooky.
definitely those type of areas.
This
Um,
looks this is like looks like the forest that maybe they dropped Hansel and Gretel off in or something, you know.
would I
Um,
do a special show on that
yeah,
area? Um, it's a possibility. I would have to do a lot of research on that. A lot of that stuff isn't written down. It's just talked about with people who live in the area. Um, but I don't know. I could try to do some searches on stories and sightings in the area and see what if I had enough, to fill an hour, definitely I could do a story like that, including the paranormal side, because
yeah,
I would have to include that.
yeah,
So, but I don't, I haven't experienced anything. So,
yeah.
it's just another area to me, really. But it is a scary, like I said, scary forest. It is
Yeah.
kind of scary. It's very, very tall pine that it's just, makes things dark and it's thick and I don't know, scary. Kind of,
Yeah. 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 It's oh, what was I thinking of just now? Um, oh yeah, the parent. I mean, I kind of understand, even though I don't believe a lot of it, of course, because of the lack of evidence. But I mean, I understand why people try to intertwine the paranormal thing because it really does. There is a lot of places like that where it's not just that people have had sightings of Bigfoot, but there's other stuff that happens there, like paranormal stuff.
Mhm.
So I understand how some people might want to intertwine the two, but I'm thinking, just because you have several different phenomenons going on in an area doesn't mean that they're tied in together, right?
Right.
You could have an area where there's been UFO sightings along with Bigfoot sightings. That doesn't mean the Bigfoot and the UFOs are tied together. You can have an area, same area, that has like UFO sightings, hauntings, and Bigfoot, but that doesn't mean they're all tied together. Um, but I do see that happens quite often in places like that one triangle that they got here. What's it called now? It's like Massachusetts and blah blah blah. I forget what the triangle's called right there, but it's the same type of thing. There's all kinds of different weird stuff that goes on in that area, including Bigfoot sightings, but other things, other weird stuff that goes on. So I
Right.
get it. I mean, I get it. I don't think any of it's tied together unless you can come up with some evidence that it is. But I get why people want to tie all that stuff together because it does happen. It does seem to happen in certain areas, not everywhere. Like where I've actually had my encounter, I'm not aware of any kind of other weird phenomena that goes on there, like any UFO sightings or even orbs sightings or anything like that. But although Molly and I saw that one orb that I don't know what it was, I think it was something natural, but I can't explain it right now. Um, but yeah, so I get that. I get that. So
Thanks, Bat Mom. Bye.
yeah, thanks for joining, Bat Mom. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna let you. I know you got some stuff to do, Nikki, and but I
Yeah.
really,
Go
really
surf again.
appreciate you doing this show with me.
Well,
I'm
thank
happy that
you for having
you
it.
agreed
It's
to it.
sweet. It's very sweet of you
Well, I
to do
love you,
that.
Nikki. You know I do, and
Hmm.
I would love to actually get out to Arizona someday, and
Oh yeah, you should.
and
No,
then.
Texas. I'm in El Paso, but
Oh, I'm
you can.
sorry. That's right. You're in El Paso now. That's right. I keep thinking. Yeah, out
Mhm.
in the West Texas
That's
town
because
of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Um, yeah, come out there and eat some of those
there's a
good
lot to
tamales.
see out in the Southwest for sure.
Eat some of those good tamales that you make.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah. So, but I really appreciate it. I love you giving me this opportunity to have you on and talk about all this stuff with you and promote you because I think you deserve promoting.
Thanks.
And even though I'm just a tiny little guy, every little bit helps and it's going to go out there. And who knows, people share this video around.
Hmm.
If you haven't, several people have said they've hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. And if you haven't resubscribed or subscribed, please do
Right.
that. Hit the like button, all that good stuff. And I thank all of you guys for coming in here and helping me do this tribute to Nikki on her anniversary. I love you guys. I appreciate everything that you do, and I appreciate every time you guys show up. And I hope to see you on the next one, which I'm not sure when it'll be, but it'll be coming up, and you'll get the notices, hopefully. 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 So, any final words, my dear?
I just appreciate you for doing this and everybody who came out to watch this.
Yeah.
But You guys are great. You support us a lot, and it is appreciated. It really is. It helps do the next one. It helps me to do the next thing, knowing that somebody out there wants to see it.
Yep.
And it's only going to get better, folks.
Yep.
Just wait.
That's right.
A lot of
and for everybody who missed, I know you can just simply go to Nikki's channel, but there is a link in the description to the channel, so that if you missed last night, like I did live, you can always go back and watch the movie night from last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, thanks, guys. As I always say, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. And hopefully pretty soon, I'm going to be seeing you guys in the forest. So, y'all have a great afternoon. We'll see you later.